Hey friends, this is Sketch Dirt. I'm Marla and I'm glad you're here. Today we are drawing candy hearts. Okay, so to get started, I am going to be using 2B, 4B, and 6B pencils today. My paper is 11 by 14 inches, and to get started, you'll see that I've graphed out where I'm going to draw today, and I feel like that's really important to note because this won't exactly be, while I will be drawing freehand, I've mapped it out where I want all the pieces to go. This is actually kind of difficult to draw just straight freehand, and so I wanted to show that. I wanted to show that I wasn't just picking up a pencil and getting started. I wanted to show that I had to do a little bit of planning in order to get all the elements in place. Because these hearts are 3D, because they have a very chunky, rounded shape, it was really helpful to kind of figure out what size I wanted the hearts to be, draw in a few squares as guidelines, and then get going on that. I also want to note that the hearts are, the main heart in the middle is 3 3/4 inches by 3 3/4 inches, and that size was the guideline for how I would draw the other two hearts since they're at a perspective. And what I'm doing here is I had it all drawn out and then I erased the lines. I sped that up. I didn't want you to have to sit through erasing. And now I'm putting those lines back in and giving them a more definite shape. And as I go along here, I'm just putting in this very first layer of shading. I'm just making this very even and smooth. I'm using my 2B pencil, and I'm doing this same level of shading across all three hearts over the entire piece. This will be kind of the initial shading, and I'm going to be building up as I go. Now what I'm doing here is I'm still taking that 2B pencil. I want this drawing to stay really soft looking. I want there to be not much extreme between the lights and the darks, and so the light areas and the dark areas are going to stay roughly the same, and when it does get really dark or really late, it's just to emphasize the shape of the hearts. And what I'm doing now is I'm adding a definition to the piece and adding in a little bit of the darker shading to make the actual shape of the heart. I want to keep it really soft. These candy hearts are actually, it's not the traditional heart shape. It's actually like a much more rounded kind of a much softer heart shape. It's almost, it borders on not actually being a heart. And I will tell you what is really, really helpful is to actually go out and get those candy hearts and really study them, study that shape, because even though they're 3D, they're like thick, it's not uniform, the thickness. It's very uneven, and capturing that, if you put those elements into your drawing, it just helps to add to the realism. And as you can see here, my example hearts, these are really more for decoration and just really more to kind of like liven up the video, because these are very like traditional looking hearts, and the lettering on these hearts is very perfect, and the actual candy hearts, the lettering is really unperfect. It's not stamped perfectly centered, and the actual shapes are, since it's candy, it's sugar, it's not perfect. The whole piece isn't perfect. And so now I'm going through here and adding more shading. I've picked up a darker pencil. I'm adding more definition. And the thing about this piece is you just be really patient and you just really build up those layers of shading. It was really, really fun to draw this. It took me about 45 minutes total, and most of it was just sitting and shading and building up the layers. And that's the really fun thing about drawing, is that not every piece that you do has to be super detailed. It doesn't have to be super complicated. Maybe the most complicated part of the piece is the shading, which is what it was for this. And that and the perspective. I also really wanted to do this piece because it's kind of a simple way and a fun way to introduce perspective and composition. And the more videos I post, I really want to start adding more complicated elements into the composition and into the details, but I really feel like I need to do these beginning videos first, mostly because they're just so fun to do. Like, that's how you kind of like fall in love with drawing, is you do these really, really simple things and you see the success you have by doing these simpler things, these things that are just really fun, like drawing candy, and then that really inspires you and pushes you to explore other things so that you can have that same experience. And that's really how you build on that, and that's how you build on your skill level too. So don't ever look at drawing something really easy as just being like, oh, this isn't drawing, or this doesn't count, because it always counts. Like picking up a pencil and putting it to paper, that always counts as something. And plus, that's how you develop your own personal style and what you're interested in, what you like to draw. So as you can see here, back to the drawing, I'm adding even darker elements in, and I'm being very, very like doing this in a very limited way. I don't want it to get too extreme, too contrasting. I'm keeping those really dark elements very, very lightly, just to emphasize the edges of the heart and the details, and just to give it a bit of crispness, but to still keep the softness of the piece overall, and just take my time with it. And what I'm going to be gearing up here for in a minute is to put the lettering into the piece. And when you do the lettering, I would say, as you can see here, I'm taking my pencil, I'm kind of drawing in a very light line, because I'm going to be drawing the lettering in at perspective. And on top of that, since it's Valentine candy hearts, the lettering isn't stamped on perfectly. It's got to look kind of like uneven. It's got to look, it can't be too uniform, or else it doesn't actually look like a candy heart. Like, part of what makes these look like candy hearts is that the lettering is kind of all skewed and kind of like all over the place. And I'll even say, like, when I was doing this lettering for Kiss Me, I wanted this to be straighter on the heart. Like, as you can see, it's off to the side. And when I realized I had done that, I was actually kind of happy, because like the actual candy hearts, that's the way it is. None of them, very rarely are they perfectly centered on the heart. So definitely when you're drawing, trying to be perfect sometimes can be very frustrating, and I would just maybe recommend that you look at the imperfections and kind of see how that is making maybe something better overall for your piece, and doing more for you than if you just tried to control every single element. Like, that's the fun of drawing in general. And that's everything. I'm adding a little bit of shading at the bottom here to ground the piece. I hope you enjoyed watching this. Let me know in the comments what you think. Let me know what you'd like to see me draw. I love hearing from you. Please subscribe to my channel. Please like the video. And thank you so much for watching. This is Sketch Dirt, and I'm Marla. Bye!